This episode of the Better Two podcast is brought to you by Kitty Mystic and DM Needom, author of My Days with the Dark Muse, as well as Love is Worth Waiting For. Hi gang, Donna here. Thanks for tuning into the Better Two podcast. Today's guest is Nate Merchant. Some of you guys may know him as Merchant. And he was on our show back in September of 2021, talking about his single Lose Somebody, as well as his collaboration with John Taylor. That episode was from season 2. It was the season finale, and it was episode 22. But let's talk about the current visit. The current visit is all about that song, Lose Somebody, and the record that it's on. The album is called Beautiful Meltdown. Beautiful Meltdown is, I want to say it's a concept album, because Nate and I talk about this, that it really is an album that you should listen to from the beginning to the end. It's about 40 minutes long, and it's definitely worth sitting down because it takes you on a journey of depression and anxiety, growth, to balance and hope. And, you know, we don't necessarily consume music that way anymore, but I'm recommending highly to download it and give it a listen. But we're not only talking about the album today, we also talk about topics such as, believe it or not, video games, relationships, depression, and, well, the pandemic, and some news stories that came up this week. So stay tuned. Hi, Nate, and welcome back, and thank you for coming back.
Yes, happy to be here.
Today you're back because, well, how do we say this? All the singles that you've been releasing has finally formed an album.
Exactly. We got a new album on the way, Beautiful Meltdown. And yeah, I guess it's half singles I've released and half new songs. We got 6 new songs for everyone to hear.
That's pretty awesome. And I had to laugh when I got your press release and it says Beautiful Meltdown, the neon wall of sound heals hearts. And I'm like, I know that's not part of the title, but I love long titles. My books have long titles. So I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, that's our fake headline to inspire an article. But yeah, it does feel like that a bit.
So this has been a journey for you. I mean, not just the record, but the writing of the songs and recording them. But where did this stem from? You know, as far as what made you decide to start writing this album? Or was it something that you've just been dabbling with for years and decided, okay, I'm done with Papa Ya for now. I want to do something personal for me?
Yeah, I think I definitely, at the end of my last band, I was kind of like frustrated with artist projects in general and that kind of stuff. And so I said, you know, I'm just going to write songs with kind of no purpose of where they're going to go or what category they're going to fit in, whether they're going to be pitched to someone else or for me or for a new band or whatever. And I think that was like a really, you know, that period kind of shaped my new style. And I think during that time, I was really focusing on just authenticity and like honesty and just like saying like exactly what I mean and not really worrying about maybe what people want to hear or what a song is supposed to sound like or what a song is supposed to be. And just kind of getting in touch with like, okay, what kind of music do I love? What do I want to sound like? What do I want to talk about? Those sort of things. And so that was kind of the genesis of this whole thing. And through that process, I got to the point where I was like, oh, there's, you know, a lot of these songs that, you know, are about stories about my life. I should probably, you know, make this my solo effort.
So since there is some personal stuff and we will dig deeper into that, have you let your family listen to it or your
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm like an open book with my friends and family. Like they like know everything about me and I'm like there's nothing in these songs that it's not been talked about in length with my family and my friends and my girlfriend and everybody close to me. So I'm like a wear my heart on my sleeve sort of guy.
Well, I had to ask, you know, it said in the press kit that you kind of went through a period of depression. Was that because of a breakup? Was that because just life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm someone who probably like leans toward melancholy anyway, which I'm also kind of like a pretty upbeat sort of guy, so I don't know what the psychology is behind that one. But yeah, I mean, I've gone through various stages of being anxious and depressed, or a combo of both throughout many, many parts of my life. You know, kind of coming to a head during the pandemic was probably my worst time, which was when I was writing all these songs, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, I've definitely been depressed.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. You don't come, and this sounds very weird to say, but you don't come across that way. But we all put on a public persona, especially when you are a person in the public eye. You put on a public persona, and even if you're melancholy or sad, you're still going to put your best face forward.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that I don't fake how I feel. I'm actually pretty bad at pretending to be happy. So it's very obvious if you were to ask any of my friends and family of like what I'm like when I'm upset. It's like, it's very obvious that I'm upset or that I'm sad or that I'm going through something or whatever. And I talk through things, I vent and stuff. That's kind of how I deal with my issues and whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just like a guy. I enjoy life, and I like talking to people, and I like making music, and I like smiling, and I like having fun. I like running around and playing basketball. And, you know, I'm that's my personality. And I think, along with that, I also feel things really deeply, and I, get upset. I'm sensitive, and I cry and all sorts of stuff, you know, so it's that's just the range of a human, I think.
But isn't that what makes you be able to be creative? Because you are in touch with that side of you. If you're not in touch with that emotional side of you, your songs are not going to have as much meaning or oomph as the person that is the emotional creative.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's, I think, the biggest hurdle of even making music is trying to figure out how to translate that feeling into the song. And I think that's what I really had to work on a lot, you know, in like the run up to making this music, was trying to figure out, what am I feeling, you know, trying to figure out, like, I started journaling around the same time as writing this album. And so that's, I think that shows in the music. It's like, it's the album is sort of a journal, like a big journal entry. And so, you know, you have to figure out how to turn those journal entries into songs, and how do you translate that feeling into music. Or, you know, a lot of times what I do is I take the opposite feeling and make that the music, and then have the journal entry be the words, you know. So it's, you know, and we've talked about this before, the happy sounding sad songs and stuff. And so that comes up a lot, and you know, sparkly synths and wind chimes and all sorts of stuff that makes you not think anything's going to be going on. And then you know, dive into the words, and you get something else.
It's one of those things where, you're dancing along, and then you're suddenly going, what?
Yeah, what is happening? He broke a bottle in his hair. What is he talking about? You know, like, so it deserves another listen, you know. So
yeah, and when you're talking about venting, it's funny because I have a running joke with a couple of my friends that I'm the vente friend. I'm the one you can call and vent to. So I've said I'm the vente friend. Always remember that.
Those people are valuable. Yeah, and I like to think I can be on both sides of it. You know, you want to be a good listener when you're a friend, and you want to be able to express yourself when you have to say something too.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, just because I'm the vente friend, I do the same with them. And I mean, that's If anybody says that they haven't dealt with depression in some part of their life, especially after the pandemic, I'd have to say they're a liar, because nobody can be up 24/7. Nobody.
Yeah.
So let's get into the record, because I know that's why you really came here. But the Beautiful Meltdown, the song itself, I'm going to say, I listened to it last night, and then I listened to it in my car this morning. And I being the writer that I am, I just had this whole envision of, you know, driving down, you know, PCH, top down, and I had this whole vision of this woman holding a scarf in her hand and letting it go at one point, because there's just something freeing in the song. And it did remind me of something from a movie, and yet while it's dancey, I mean, I could see it playing in a soundtrack. Normally this would have been taped during the podcast, but because the conversation was flowing and, well, we just kind of got sidetracked, I forgot to do it, which seems kind of crazy, but it happens. This is really my first album. Usually I do a song or two, and that's easy enough. But this is the first album, and we're still going through a couple of growing pains. So bear with me. Next time, I promise it won't be this way. The first single on the album is called Beautiful Meltdown. It's the title track. And I think it's an amazing song. And after this, you'll get to hear what Nate and I talked about it. So give it a listen.
For a reason, nothing ever stays the same.
That's great. We need to make the movie. It'll start with the woman in the scarf, and we'll go from there.
Just being free. I mean, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think a meltdown, sometimes we look at meltdowns and we're like, oh, we can't get up from here. But the meltdown actually takes us down to our raw feelings.
Yeah, and I think that song is funny because I think I used to write songs very like, I don't know, like sequentially, like all the verse lyrics, each line leads into the next one and makes logical sense, and it supports what the chorus is doing and the concept of the chorus and the titles in the chorus and all these different rules of songwriting and stuff. And I think the Beautiful Meltdown song is just like each sentence is sort of like a memory or an event or something that might have been 7 years apart. You know, it's like it was just all just sort of like autobiographical snippets that were all like, okay, these are all the times I was fucked up and shit went wrong and it didn't work out for me. And I think it's funny to talk through this because this is one of my first times talking through because I just finished it, talking through what this actually means. And I think the beautiful part of the meltdown is the fact that you got to the place where you had your low and you had your tantrum and you lost your friends and you did whatever you did that was wrong, and then you go up from there and you figure it out and you get your shit together, and that's the beautiful part of it, so I think that's sort of what it ended up meaning to me.
Well, and the truth is, if you wouldn't have that meltdown, you wouldn't be who you are.
Exactly.
So I mean, I applaud you for taking each little snippet, and as a writer, people are like, well, do you write your books in order? And I'm like, no, not at all. I'm writing a saga, and it's like, yes, I'm working on book 2, but I have stuff for book 5 written. So, some people, they have to write sequentially and they have to stay conformed to the rules, but nobody said that you have to do it. With all the music that's out there nowadays, however you feel passionate to write, that's what you should do.
Definitely. And I mean, going off of that, it's like Beautiful Meltdown was, I think, the last song or second to last song that we even added to the album. Like the Beautiful Meltdown and Adderall weren't on the album, a couple weeks before we delivered it. And so, when you look at like what the story is, and it's not exactly a concept album really, but it does tell some sort of a story and a journey, because it goes Beautiful Meltdown all through all this range of breakups and emotions, and it's better this way, and I feel empty, and then all these range of things. And then you get to Take It From Me, where it's just like a song about total unconditional love and trying to take away, the pain of your loved one, which is like the guy in Beautiful Meltdown would not have the capacity to have that feeling for someone if he didn't go through all of the stuff of, of that journey and of those highs and lows and that, experience.
Which is an amazing thing. And it's an amazing gift that you've given. The one thing I will say, though, and I've talked to other musical artists about this, is that now, because of, dare I say, the Netflix generation, we have come to binge things. And, a lot of artists have talked about they won't do an album now because they'll release singles because that's what people want. But what you described is something beautiful, because it is a whole story in itself. And that's the way music used to be listened to. You would put it on an album and you would listen the whole way through. And yes, I actually, because the files you sent were not necessarily in order, I put them all in order so I could hear the journey and the interpretation of how it was supposed to be listened to. And I think by us being such a consumable society, sometimes we miss the perfection and beauty of music as it should be, listened to.
Yeah, it's the lost art of the album.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough nowadays, because everything boils down to 15 seconds on TikTok. And then if that 15 seconds does well enough, then you get to put the song out, and then people get 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. And then if that blows up, then you get to do an album. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And, I grew up listening to records, and that's like, and hearing the journey of that, and hearing, an artist's first record and then the transformation of their sound and their lyrics and all that into the second album, and seeing those different eras of the band and stuff. And that's like something that is like so core to what inspires me about music, that I couldn't skip that part, like, and I don't know how it will be received, or if people even will listen to it, or if they'll put it in shuffle mode, or what they'll do. But, I can't control that part. And all I can do is say, I want to make a record, and then do it, so proud of myself for just going for it, regardless of what the results are.
I mean, can you imagine? Let's go back. Let's go back in time, but not go back in time. Take Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is a total concept album, and put that to today's standards with the 15 seconds, and it just does not work.
Yeah, people probably wouldn't listen to it. They probably wouldn't even get signed.
No, and we definitely wouldn't have all the laser light shows they had back in the day. So, I mean, I think if we need to slow down sometimes and just take in stuff, you know? So I wonder, and here's the other thing. I know that that's happening with authors. When does it happen with records that Amazon says if somebody downloads your CD and they don't like it, that they can get a refund? Because this is what's happening with books. People are buying the book and they don't like it, so they return it. Or they read it, liked it, and return it, yeah. So I wonder when that's going to start happening with music as well.
Well, I mean, the other equivalent is just streaming. Is like someone can listen to 3 seconds of your song on Spotify and go, nope. You know, so it's which honestly, it's a double-edged sword because it's available to everyone, which is awesome. Everyone has the access. So you have the ability to have millions of people hear your stuff, which is great. But the other side of it is that it's more disposable. Right. So I wanted to make something that wasn't disposable. And I think that's one of the things I'm really proud of is that, like, I think sonically, the music is competitive with what's around today. And lyrically, I think it's maybe a tad deeper than what's going on. And so, you know, that was really important to me to, like, actually tell a story and say what I had to say and talk about, you know, issues that were important to me and, you know, have some, like, ability for it to be replayed more than once. You know? Yeah.
And there's something I want to say about Spotify. Well, I know it's the bane of existence for some. You know, when I write a book, I create a Spotify playlist, which, yes, some of your songs will be in the next book's playlist. Not that you need to know that, but it will be. So that will always be immortalized in the back of my book. But I started another podcast, which is the B2 Soundtrack Podcast, and it's about songs that meant something. And yes, one of your songs is actually in there, Lose Somebody. But
Lose Somebody. Great.
Yeah, the fact is, Spotify does introduce more artists to other people that may not have known about you. So that's the one benefit. But like Amazon Kindle Unlimited, you don't make money from it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, honestly, like, I don't know if I feel that way about Spotify. I think that's like a big, like, outrage is that you can't make any money from Spotify and they pay pennies on per stream and all that kind of stuff. But it actually equates to like $4,000 for 1 million streams. And so, you know, that's not nothing. And I think, you know, if you're in a situation where you own the master and you're putting out independently, like that's not the end of the world, you know? So I think it's cool that it, you know, you can get out to more people and especially through the algorithms and stuff. Like my most recent song, like, a bunch of the plays are just coming through the algorithmic playlist. And so it's like Discover Weekly and stuff. And people are able to stumble upon my thing on their little mix of new songs and stuff, which I think is incredible.
That's awesome. I mean, like I said, some people think Spotify is the bane of existence. I do listen to Spotify and I put my playlist on there because for me as a writer, it gives me the opportunity to listen to what I want to listen to, create these customized playlists, and then I get new artists that I've never heard of. And I want to talk about that for a second because there is a resurgence in 80s style music because there's quite a few artists that I've seen recently come out that have very similar style that, you know, it's like stepping back in time to the 80s. And one of your songs, It Was Missing You, it reminded me a little bit of, there was something musically that reminded me of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That's the closest I can think about it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there last night and I kept going, what does this remind me of? And it was today that kind of kicked in. I'm not sure it's exactly that, but it has that 80s vibe of, you know, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So what?
Yeah, it's the same time signature. So it's in 12/8 instead of 4/4. So it has like a gallop, like a da, 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 instead of just 1, 2, 3.
So that's why
it has like a triplet feel. So it's which that honestly that song started as like a ballad, like more of a like I Want to Know What Love Is, Foreigner, like that type of like ballad and stuff. And then I put the drums on, so it was just, it was super slow, like big drums and stuff. And then I realized that it had that 12/8 thing. And then I thought of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I was like, oh, sick, you know. And so that kind of like I sped it up, but you know, by double basically. And that was how we got that vibe.
The next track we listened to is Missing You. It's the third track on the record. And while I say we should listen to it fully from start to finish, I did kind of skip around because some of the songs had been out for a while and we had talked about them on the prior podcast. So this track is called Missing You.
Why do I say things without ever really thinking first? I lost my patience, but I never meant to make you hurt. I know I never fall sick the way I'm feeling right now, so can we just talk this through? I wish I could take all the things I said and put them right back in my mouth and start this new. Tell me, why did I push when I should have pulled you on closer to me? I know these past few days haven't been my best, said some things I didn't mean. I'm so glad that you stayed when I said to leave. Girl, you're the one thing I need, and you know it's true. I don't wanna be missing you. Nothing cuts deeper than seeing tears are falling down your face. I wish I could rewind and take us back to any other day. No, I'll never fall sick the way I'm feeling right now, so can we just talk this through? I wish I could take all the things I said and put them right back in my mouth and start this new. Tell me, why did I push when I should have pulled you on closer to me? I know these past few days haven't been my best, said some things I didn't mean. I'm so glad that you stayed when I said to leave. Girl, you're the one thing I need, and you know it's true. I don't wanna be missing you. I don't wanna be missing you. Can't imagine life without you. Would leave you if I had to. I swear I never doubt you again. On those nights you need me most, I'm the one who holds you close. I'll be right next to you. I don't wanna be missing you.
Well, thanks for verifying I was
Yeah.
right about it.
Yes, yes.
So who are you missing? Dare I ask?
Who was I missing? Oh, that song is that's like basically an apology song to my girlfriend Tallulah, who we it was right at the start of the pandemic, and we were locked down and stuff, and so we got in sort of a bit of a tiff, and yeah, and when you lose your temper a little bit, you say some stuff you didn't mean, and then I was like, I don't want you to leave because I don't want to be missing you, and then I was like, wait, are we good? Okay, cool, I gotta go write this song. So then I went in the other room and I wrote the song, and it's like, all right, cool. So yeah, that was my apology song.
Nice. Did you get the whirly fixed?
Yes, yeah, got it tuned. Yes, were you on that Instagram live?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
yes, I
great.
was. And you
Yeah.
sounded great, and I thought it was a nice acoustic performance of just you and
Thank
the piano.
you. I'll have to do another one now that it's actually in tune.
Yeah, I mean, it was good for what it was. So
Cool.
I think I enjoy your lives. Your lives are amusing, and I think you should do it a little bit more often. But I understand it's a little nerve-wracking. I actually almost did this podcast live with you. I was going to reach out and see if you wanted to do it live.
Oh, cool. Well, let's do it next time live.
All right, that's fine. You're welcome back anytime. You know that. So let's go back to I Hate It Here. Nintendo 64. I wanted to ask you last time we talked, I think, about video games, and we didn't actually talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So, but you had Nintendo 64, so this obviously, was this song a lot dealing with when you were a kid or a teenager?
That song is about a couple different things. And I think goes back to what I said before about, I used to write a song about, it has to be about this one moment in time. And I think parts of that song are about the pandemic, and parts of that song are about previous breakups I've had and depressions I've fallen into post breakup and things like that. And then like I said, part of it is about, being in the pandemic and during, that first spring of 2020, I was like just inside playing Mario Kart on N64 and just having the same day over and over again. It was like live, die, repeat type thing. And yes, that was just what I was like, my TV is going to catch on fire because I've been playing so much N64. It's just going to combust. So that was the first two lines of the song.
So you still have your old Nintendo 64?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Have to.
I can't say anything. I have an Atari 2600, so that was like my first video game. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The vintage ones are the special ones, and the other one I got into was playing the old Pokemon games. I brought out my Game Boy and like Pokemon Blue, like the original. So the pandemic was fun to just like, you have so many hours. It's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna play old video games, I guess.
So then I have to ask, since you're old video game, do you have an Xbox or a PlayStation?
Yeah, I have an Xbox One. Yeah. And
did you play Guitar Hero?
Of course. Yeah. I shredded Guitar Hero. Honestly, this is kind of funny. I also had Guitar Hero 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was like a spin-off Guitar Hero. There was Guitar Hero 80s. That was one that I played every day one summer. So.
Yeah, I have a brand new set of Guitar Hero drums that was never opened in a box. It's like, okay, for the Xbox. And it's like, I wanted to play drums because I always wanted to play drums. So like, this will be my chance. Nah, it's still in the closet. And
gotta unbox it. Come on. Gotta get in there.
I may. My husband also, I have my husband's old electronic drums. So maybe I'll dabble with those because that might be better.
Yeah. Or you can start on Guitar Hero and get the feel for it and then go to the real thing.
True. But it's nothing like it. I mean, playing bass on Guitar Hero is kind of a joke, and playing Guitar Hero is not the same. We know this.
Of course.
But it's fun. Yeah. So what is your all-time favorite game then?
My all-time favorite game? That's actually really tough. I don't know. I got really into Pokemon over the pandemic. I played a bunch as a kid, and then I went back and played like 4 or 5 of the Pokemon games, which was crazy, absurd waste of time, but also very fun. What else? Oh, also Doom Eternal. You just like, you kill demons. It's like, it's crazy. But that game is incredibly entertaining, and you sweat, and there's like metal music playing the whole time. So you're just like freaking out. That's quite an experience.
Soul Calibur?
I haven't played that.
Really? I'm surprised. No. But it's pretty fun. I used to play Soul Calibur.
Oh, okay.
But we're digressing into video games, and that's not what you're here to talk about. But hey,
it's okay. No, I would talk about video games all day.
So, as we progress through it, you also did a little interlude, and that's the one thing I wish that I would like to hear together. Maybe when the album's released, I can listen to it on Spotify. The interlude, "Time to Tell the Truth," is a nice little piece, and it kind of blends in, but because it was separate files, it didn't blend together for me. So I'm looking forward to the release of the record, so they all blend evenly together. If you know.
Yeah,
what I mean.
Yeah. So you can hear it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was cool. That song, I wrote that, I think like almost a year ago, and it was just sitting there, and it was, sometimes I'll start things, not sometimes, all the time, I'm starting things and not finishing them, which I think any creative can relate to. So yes. I have a ton of just like 1 minute, 30 seconds, like whatever, just little snippets of things, and sometimes they don't even have a verse. It might just be a chorus, or it has the verse but no chorus, or whatever. And then that was one of them. that just had, you know, I don't know whether it's a verse or a chorus or whatever it is, but I just had one, you know, little bit of vocals over this keyboard part that my buddy Isaiah played. And yeah, we were like kind of piecing the album together and stuff. And then I was like, we need an interlude. We have to have an interlude. And so I was like going through like old stuff, and I found that one, and I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be on there somewhere. And so we were trying to figure out where to put it. And then, you know, John, who you know, the guy has made, you know, what, 15 records or whatever. So he knows a thing or two about
15 with Duran, and then some solo stuff and some other stuff.
Right.
And,
yeah. So he's no stranger to sequencing of tracks. So he had the idea to come out with 3 upbeat, more like banger type songs, and then slow it down. And so he was like, oh, let's put that interlude right in there, track 4. And I think it works. It you know, slows things down and gives you a moment to breathe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's like programming a radio station. You have to have your upbeat, then you put your little middle length there, and then you put your slower song in, your ballad.
Right.
Back when you had to do that, now most stations are already done for you, so you don't even have to bother, which is weird. But I know this because back in '93, I got to program a radio station.
Oh, cool.
I used to be an on-air personality, and then the next station I worked at, it was all computerized.
Wow. Because a lot of the playlists because they're all owned by the same company, so they come from somewhere else up the food chain, and then a lot of radio stations are playing the exact same playlist, right?
Right. And the fact is, when I programmed the station, it was like if somebody called in with a request, I could go, okay, I can do this. At the other station, it was like the only thing you had control of on the board was the levels and the dump button. That was it. So
what does the dump button do?
It would skip if you were running short. If somehow the station was programmed too much, where they had too many ads or too many songs, and that you weren't hitting the marks on the time, you would dump a song. So your ad would play, and you would hit your mark because you had FCC rules about when you were supposed to do your station ID and everything else. So yeah, and if you had dead air, it was fun. It was fun, and I worked in the middle of a cornfield and in the middle of a bayou. So how glamorous is that?
Wow. What state was this in?
Indiana. I worked at Z100 in Indiana, and no, Z100 was in New Orleans, excuse me, but the station was located in the bayou. And Win 106, I worked in Indiana, and their sister station was WKRP.
Okay. Which one's that?
WKRP was an AM station, and I didn't work there, but it actually existed in Indiana. Everybody thinks, you know, the TV show WKRP in Cincinnati, there really was an Indiana radio station with the call letters.
Oh, funny.
So, yeah. Not that you needed to know any of that, but...
No, I like learning.
So, you have a tour date coming up, or a show, April 7th.
Yes, we do.
And how excited are you about that?
I'm very excited. We haven't played a show since December, so excited to get back out there. We're going to play, it's obviously the album release event show. So we're going to play the album front to back in order, which I think is going to be really fun. It'll be like a live listening party, basically. Nice. So I think it'll be cool to, get everyone's reaction, playing it live the first time.
Are you going to be doing any more live dates?
Probably definitely have some more, local LA shows and things like that. Would love to hop on a tour. So if anyone hears this and wants to take me on tour, let's do it. But yeah, definitely playing some more LA shows this spring.
So yes, I'm jumping around. I know one song that you really, really like, and that's Adderall.
Yes.
So I have to say, Mindy Sachs is awesome on that. John's bass is great. And once again, that's another convertible song. I know you guys said Dead Days and Gatorades was all about driving, but to me, it's another driving song. It really is. Maybe not.
It might be a driving album. Who knows?
Maybe. Well, not all the way, but at least some of it.
Sure.
And trust me, because I live out in a small town and I have to drive everywhere, it'll be on my playlist quite a bit.
Great. Happy to hear that.
What happened to inspire this?
I think, I had talked about Adderall in one of the other songs. I think Dead Days, I mentioned Adderall, and there are a couple other songs that briefly mention it. And then one day in the studio, me and John were talking about Adderall and my experience taking and stuff. And he was asking me some questions. And one day he was like, you should just make a song called Adderall. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was kind of in the back of my head. And then it wasn't until, maybe 6 months later or something that I actually, found the song that would be, the melody to fit those words to. But yeah, it was a fun song to write. I think it's exciting because it's not like a relationship song necessarily, which I think a lot of the songs on the record are. And I think that's more what I'm like comfortable doing, is talking about, the people in my life and what happened with us. That's kind of the theme of things.
But in a way, isn't taking Adderall, it's still a relationship. Whether it's not the same kind of relationship as having a personal relationship, but it makes you feel a certain way. So therefore you build a relationship with that feeling, don't you?
Of course, yeah. And I think I equate it to a relationship in the song, because I say, why don't you let me go? And I'm not talking to a person. So
right. So
I guess it ends up being a relationship song anyway. You're right, yeah.
And I mean, I think we don't look at things like that. We're like, oh, it's just medication, it's whatever. No, you build a relationship because you build a tolerance to it. You know, just like a relationship, you can tolerate certain people in your life, certain people you can't. So you end up changing because of it.
Definitely, yeah. And I think one thing that's tough is that, like, there's the perception that if it comes from a doctor, that it's safe. And that's just not true. So that's something I definitely learned the hard way. And yeah, I don't know. I think with Adderall specifically, it's like, I grew up in a generation where it's like, if you have any problem with the way that you're being taught in school and not being able to sit still or even enjoying recess more than class, then it's like, all right, let's get this kid some pills, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of absurd. And I even had a teacher in elementary school that called my parents and said that I should be on Adderall, and it's like, it just seems kind of crazy. And yeah, so I thought it was an appropriate thing to vent about via song.
No, I get it. I mean, I had a back injury and I had gone to a pain management doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, well, I want you on 3 Flexeril a day and 2 Vicodin a day. And I'm thinking to myself, I looked at my husband at the time and I said, I would rather have quality of life than quantity of life, because all that's going to do is make me drool, because medication and I don't have a good relationship. So why would I do that to myself? I can learn to tolerate pain over being medicated. The second track on the album is called Adderall, Why Don't You Let Me Go? And this is one of Nate's favorite songs.
Flowers in your hair, taking Adderall. Pulling up the sky, man, it's such a pretty fall. Thinking that I want, but there's no game to play. My imagination has some funny things to say. Tell me why I try so hard, but I can't even stop to crack a smile. Why I was tying up my job, won't you let me go? Thought that you could switch me out, but I can't even stop to stop myself. Guess I'm gonna bring this down, you should let me go. Why don't you let me go? Why don't you let me go? Why don't you let me go? Why don't you let me
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a touchy subject because there's definitely times where people you need something and you should take it, you know? And it's like, I'm not like, I don't have a stance. It's like anti any prescription medication. And I just think that also, I want to phrase this the right way. I feel like there should be more information available as to the seriousness of what is being prescribed.
Yes.
Because I think someone gives you Adderall and you get 30 pills, whatever, and they go, okay, here you go. And they don't tell you that this is the actual like chemical components of like meth, basically, you know? So it's like, it's kind of insane. And so it's just like it can be dangerous. So that's all.
I'm not medication. There are medications people do need, and I do not, and some people do need to take Adderall. I'm not saying that they don't, but there was the situation where my husband had neuropathy of the feet. And so they prescribed something for him and he started having dark thoughts. And so we went back to the doctor, another doctor, and she's like, well, you shouldn't be on that. If you have dark thoughts, it has a black box warning, which means, and this is what they never tell you, it has a black box warning. So they're suicidal thoughts. But you know what goes along hand in hand with the suicidal thoughts that they don't tell you? Homicidal thoughts.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't tell you that thing. But I mean, we go to a doctor and we think, okay, this is fine, and I'll take the medication and it'll make me better. But the fact is, sometimes we don't know those side effects, and we're not being told those side effects. So. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, now that we went down that rabbit hole, I apologize, but it's something that I think, people do need to be on medication, and people do need to be on antidepressants and some medication to help them focus. We are not disputing that. So anybody listening, neither one of us are disputing that. So let's get back to the record. So Better This Way. So I appreciated the line that the tone of the voice doesn't sound the same way. Or it doesn't sound the same. And I mean, there are when you were talking earlier about the fact that this record is a journey, the person that starts out very, I don't want to say narcissistic, but that has not matured is not going to pick up on that. They're not going to notice that the person has tuned out, that something has switched in the relationship. They're just going to continue to go, oh, let's keep going. So I give you kudos for actually picking up on that, because that says, one, you're intuitive, and you are intuitive in your relationships, which is good and makes a good partner and gives good unconditional love then.
Yeah. And I mean, that's probably something I had to learn too. I mean, there's definitely been times where I've been broken up with and I'm like, what happened? And it's like, dude, like, get it together, So there's that too. But no, I think Better This Way is talking about the end of a relationship where you're realizing all these things that are changing, and you're like, damn, like, what happened? Why is it not the way that it used to be? And why you don't look at me the same, and when you talk to me, it doesn't sound the same way, and your energy has changed, and what is that? And then, kind of coming to the conclusion that, maybe this is better for both of us that we're not together,
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's the thing. It's like, anybody who's been in a serious relationship with somebody that you love, when the first guy I really truly dated and was in love with, when he would see me, his eyes would light up. I would always see this light in his eyes. And it's like, as a relationship, I remember asking him, I said, does it bother you that I tell you I love you all the time? He's like, yeah, it does. That was like the death knell. That was the death knell. When he said that, it was just like, ooh, okay, so we're not on the same page. And then as the relationship continued to progress a little bit, the light started going out in the eyes. And I'm just like, yeah, this needs to end. This really, we came to a conclusion. And it hurt like hell. But I think if you're really in tune to your relationship, you know when your partner's not, when your partner's phoning it in.
Right. Yep.
And it's time to cut your losses. So.
Yeah. And that's what Better This Way is about. And it's those times are hard, and it doesn't change how it feels, but it's at least the understanding that it's like, this wasn't it,
Yeah.
We gave it a shot, type of thing.
And that's the thing about love. You always think, oh, this is the one. This is going to be perfect. Everything is going to be perfect in this situation. But the truth is, it's all about learning. I mean, really, it is.
Yeah. And I think also like going through several relationships before, you know, meeting my current girlfriend, who I think is my one.
Mhm.
You know, I think you realize what you need and the type of person that you are actually going to be compatible with, and all that kind of stuff. So every relationship before is like a learning experience where you're getting more to the point where you're like, oh, I will actually know when I find the person who is my person, you know.
Mhm.
And you have to go through those relationships that don't work in order to know that.
Well, and I think also going through those relationships, you get to a point where you start learning who you are.
Sure, yeah.
And I think it takes a long time for us to get to that point that and we never know who we totally are because we're constantly changing and evolving. But you have to go through those experiences to know this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and this is who I am, and this is how I interact with somebody.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, I mean, the best way to go through a breakup is to actually take the time to like self-assess and be like, what did I do well here, what didn't I do well? And that's how you can actually use it to your benefit. I think some people probably just go, oh well, screw her, she was mean or whatever. And it's like, hey, there's two sides to all this, you know, like you got to try and take it and figure out, you know, how you could have handled things differently.
Well, being a child of divorce, I remember asking my dad, I'm like, so dad, why'd you guys split? Because my mother would always tell me, and I was like 10 years old. And my dad's like, when you're older, I'll tell you. I'm like, okay. So I hit 40 and I'm like, Dad, I think I'm old enough now. Will you tell me? So he gives me this whole picture. And this, the reason why I bring this up is because he paints this whole picture and it's totally different than what my mom said. So it's like, I felt like I was living the butterfly effect because all of a sudden this whole different scenario came to mind.
Right.
And after a few months, it was like, okay, let's step back for a second. And this is the truth about all relationships. You have your version, she has her version, and there's truth somewhere in the middle because we
Right.
don't always fully look at everything clearly.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many variables. It's like, it's how you perceive what happened versus what someone's intentions were. There's all sorts of stuff that you can get bogged down with. But yeah, sometimes you just know when it's not right, and
Right. And then
say it's better this way, we're not together.
as long as you focus on your expectations and understand that your expectations aren't always going to be met, you stand a good chance of surviving the relationship.
Exactly.
So, Me Without You was a very dreamy, hopeful song.
Hmm.
So, was that once again after a tiff, or is this just something that what inspired it, I guess?
That was a song I wrote for Tallulah for Valentine's Day, either last year or the year before. And yeah, it was just like it was just a good old love song, you know, just talking about um, how important she is to me, and you know, how she's helped shape me to be who I am and make me a better version of myself, you know.
I thought I was like, maybe you should hit some wedding DJs up and get that playing in the wedding rotation.
Right? That would be perfect. It'd be perfect.
Then people can hear it, and then more people will download it, and there you go.
I would love to have a hit wedding song. That would be
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, people get married all the time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you because there's a couple more songs in here, but I wanted to talk to you about the Grammys. So are you going to be watching this week? Or is that something
Sure. Yeah. I'll watch the Grammys.
what are you looking forward to?
I honestly don't even know anything about it. I think my capacity for award shows is very low.
That's
But
fine.
and my expectations. I don't even know what's going on. What are you looking forward to?
I'm going to be honest, I actually did not plan on watching it because I don't have cable.
Oh,
And
okay.
I live out in the boonies, so
All right. Well,
it's,
you'll know if somebody slaps somebody the next day, I guess.
this is true. This is so
Yeah.
true. What is your opinion of that, or do you dare say anything?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you're supposed to have an opinion. I think, I don't know. I'm not Will Smith, so I don't know what was going on in his head, but I think that you probably shouldn't ever go slap someone on live TV. That's probably just not what you should do. I think he could have, I mean, if he was smart, he would have just he would have roasted Chris back. You know, it's like, come on, dude, just like joke back. I don't know. Or like, I don't know. I think there's a million things he could have done differently, but
well, what's
yeah,
funny,
I don't know.
what's funny is the conspiracy theorists are out there now, and they've mocked up a picture saying Chris Rock had a pad on his cheek, so they doctored a photo. It's funny how with the technology we have, and then people are like, "Oh, so see, it was all a setup." Okay,
I don't know.
I don't.
I don't think so.
No.
I think it was a real slap, but I think it was also real stupid.
Yeah. I mean, you're a public person. You're a public person. Yes, I understand that there's a long beef between you two, but there's a better way to handle it.
And like, there's just no, like, the amount of jokes he's getting now is a million times more everyone's roasting him on the internet, you know? So it's like, if you could have taken the one joke, then you wouldn't have gotten the hundreds of thousands of jokes that are on Twitter today. You know? So it's crazy, but yeah.
It has helped Chris Rock's ticket sales.
Has it really?
Yeah, on Twitter I saw that last night that his concert ticket sales are through the roof right now.
Wow. All right. Well, at least somebody's benefiting.
What I thought was funny is somebody had posted a picture of all the stars reacting, and one of them was Mel Gibson reacting, and I just thought, well, isn't that ironic because of Mel Gibson's history with the trouble he's been in publicly? So,
right. Yeah, better watch what he says.
Yeah. So, and another thing to weigh in on, I guess, would be the Taylor Hawkins thing.
So sad.
It's very sad, and being somewhat of a public figure, how do you feel do you think it could have been handled differently as far as the media and the gossip columns pushing the theory of how he died and everything? I mean, do you think all that stuff happens so quickly, and shouldn't they hold back, or should they?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine for the truth to come out. I think what happens in these situations is everyone rushing to be the first person to say what happened, and maybe they say something that's not true. But beyond that, it's like, it's extremely tragic. He was like an incredible musician, super influential. I think the more important thing to me is like I was like crushed, you know. I'm like, he was like someone I really looked up to, and Foo Fighters were like one of my favorite bands in high school. And me and my friends would jam in my basement and we'd play Everlong, and we'd take turns trying to play the drums and making the face, and, you know, like, and trying to be Taylor Hawkins, you know. So it's like, that was like one of the first, you know, musician deaths that really hit me super hard. And, you know, I think to see the outpouring of love from like the music community toward him was like, really, it's like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Like, everyone feels the same way I do about this. And that was kind of like comforting in a way, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, that part I think is awesome. I just feel for his family that they're putting all this stuff out in the media, and it's like, they haven't even had time to wrap their head around this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think the better thing to look at is the statements that are coming from the Foo Fighters, because they're not talking about what happened or why or whatever. They're just like, this is a you know, a really incredible loss, and, you know, give us some time. You know, that's like the more reasonable thing to look at.
I do know they were supposed to play the Grammys, but I don't know that they are, but they were supposed to play the Grammys. That's the one thing I knew. And the reason I asked you about the Grammys is because you're a musician, but not everybody wants a Grammy. Yeah,
well, I would love to have a Grammy, but I'm not nominated for Best New Artist, so maybe next year, the year after.
maybe. Which let's talk about "Take It From You." I want to say that was a powerful song because we've all been in that position, and I have a friend right now going through breast cancer, and her anxiety is through the roof, and it's like, I just wish I could take that pain that she's going through and her anxiety away. So that was very poignant. It's a very poignant time for me to hear that song, because it's like, I get that so much, and when we love somebody and care about them, we want to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think I really realized how relatable it was. I think that was a song where I didn't even think about what I honestly didn't even think it would be released. I wrote it just for Tallulah. I just sent it to her when she was traveling for work, and was having a harder time and stuff, and we were apart, and I I sent it to her, and she sent me a photo back with like tears in her eyes and stuff, and it was like, it was a song I wasn't even planning on releasing, so it was just something that was made just for her. And I think that like purity of that, ironically, maybe makes it even more relatable, that it's just my own experience with my girlfriend and what we were going through, and then that's probably the most universal feeling there is, that you want to not have your loved ones be in pain.
True, but I want to say, do you realize how much growth you've done to be able to recognize that, to be able to say you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's detailed in all the songs. You can look at all the songs and see that whoever's in the character in those songs are not someone who would probably say that, or feel that, or even know what that is. And so I think it's definitely a sign of maturity, I guess.
It is.
But yeah.
I have to say, Don't Feel Like Dancing, that song gets stuck in my head sometimes, just that line. And the music, it's like, okay, so Nate's stuck in my head again, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good song. So are there going to be any more videos?
I would love to make some videos. We have a couple things in the works that I'm not going to announce yet, but yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely want to get some more visuals going.
Good.
What we also have is coming out on, well, I guess by this time it'll be out already, but we filmed a live showcase with Nick Egan directing a few months ago, so that's going to be out, and we'll feature 6 of the songs on the album, and as a live performance. So that's an exciting visual we have coming.
Nice. So now that the record is finished, what's next?
Another record.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is that a lot of this stuff is on such like a big delay. So like a lot of these songs were written, empty. I started in 2016. That's probably the earliest one. Take It From You was 2018. A lot of them were 2020, 2021. And now they're just coming out, so it's in that time I was writing all kinds of new songs, so there's about like at least a year delay between when I write a song and when it comes out. So obviously right now, the songs I'm writing will probably come out, whatever, we have releases planned for the summer and for the fall and stuff like that. And yeah, so just trying to evolve, trying to figure out what the next sound is, and get going on the next record.
And you got the new studio set up?
I do. It's not done yet, but I'm in a new, we moved, I moved in with Tallulah, so we're getting settled. And yeah, I gotta get my panels up, get everything in order, get my lights going.
It looks good though. I mean, it looks, considering you just moved in not too long ago, it looks good. It looks set up, at least for now. Okay.
It's set up to make the music. So I got the essentials going.
Yeah. So let's see, what else? So no tour dates coming, or no dates around LA that are hard and fast right now?
No, except for the album release show.
Yeah.
Still locking in everything else.
Well, with everything opening up though, you should be able to get some dates soon, I would think.
Yeah, and I think people are like much more willing to go out to shows. I know even like the last couple shows I played, it was like still like, masks were required and all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely, I think there was less people wanting to come out just because it's right in the middle of the pandemic. So I think coming out of that, it's going to be easier to get people out to shows.
Are you feeling better now that things are calming down? And
absolutely. I mean, it's like, that was like two plus years of like being freaked out. It's like, that sucks. And I'm someone who like, I had like a pretty hard time during the pandemic of like dealing with like anxiety and stuff like that. And like, just being like scared to leave the house, it's like, that was like pretty rough. Which I basically just stayed in the house and made music, which was fine. But yeah, that was not great. And so, and all that stuff of like, when you see someone, it's like, oh my gosh, who have you seen and who have you been around and have you been traveling, all that kind of stuff. And just being scared of people is like not natural. And you're not supposed to feel that way. You're supposed to want community and friendship and all sorts of things like that. And so I think that was hard. And I don't think we realized what the effects of that would be. Like having to be scared of your neighbor, or like who touched the trash cans before you and stuff like that. Just crazy. And I think I'm someone who has like, I don't even want to say that. I have an attention to detail surrounding germs. So
Okay.
which is a better way to say OCD, because I don't actually have OCD. But I was over there like Lysoling light switches and stuff like that. And it's like crazy. Like that's just like, when that's what's filling up your brain, it's like there's no way you have room to be happy,
I completely get it. I mean, my husband at the time was a dialysis patient, so I wasn't fully locked down. I would have to drive him to dialysis 3 times a week. But that meant before masks were required, I started wearing a mask. I would wear gloves to the grocery store. I was that kind of freaky lady. I'd get in the car, I'd have Lysol, I'd spray all the grocery bags, like that
Yep.
really is going to do something. And when I would bring him home from dialysis, it's like I'd spray him down with Lysol and everything else. So it was kind of crazy. Now, after he passed, I went through a weird thing because suddenly I was locked down, and handling grief in lockdown is not the easiest thing in the world because you're not having the normal people for support. You can talk to people this way, you can talk to people on the phone, and yes, I did venture out to a couple of my friends, but once again, like you were saying, where had they been? Who else have they seen? What's going on? So there was always that factor. So for me, lockdown was a whole nother process of trying to work through depression and anxiety. And when I decided to start the podcast, it was just like my doctor's like, yeah, that's a good thing for you because then you have contact with the outside world. So that's
Right.
part
Yeah.
of this.
And we need that. You're not supposed to be alone for that long.
No.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm someone who definitely can't be alone. Like I don't do good by myself for too long, which is funny because I spend so much time by myself making music. But it's just, you can't do that for too long. And some days, Tula will come up from work and she'll be like, you haven't seen anyone today, have you? Because I'm just like yearning for some conversation and contact. And so, it's like, and then, we're just not supposed to be like that for that long. So and I think everyone had some version of that, going on where it's too much to be alone like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would write a lot, so I get where you're at with the music. I would write, and I was able. I mean, one day I remember it was Mother's Day, and I wrote like 6,000 words in one day, which is an
Wow.
incredible amount. But then it's like when my friends would call, and I would just be like, diarrhea of the mouth, because it was just like, oh, there's a human to talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course I have a cat and a dog, so I talk. Whoops, I have a cat and a dog, and I talk to them as well. So there you go.
Do they talk back?
Kimmy does sometimes. The dog, she barks, and the cat does meow and complain sometimes. I guess so, but not anything that I can understand. So there you go.
Got it. Because some people, I feel like they obviously the dog's not saying words, but they know what the dog wants.
Yeah. Well, that much I do know. She,
Yeah.
if I wouldn't have given her a treat before we started, she'd been barking the whole time. So, yeah.
Got to give the pre-show treat.
Exactly. We have a routine. She knows when the lights come on and the camera's on, that means mom's going to give me the big treat. Normally,
Yeah.
we get no treats.
There
Anyway.
you go.
So, how long do you think before, and I hate asking this, but how long do you think before you release the next single? You're going to push it to sometime this summer?
Yeah, I think we've got stuff lined up for June, July, and August. So
Okay.
just going with the next batch. And I think what's fun about the new music too, which is funny to even talk about because people haven't even heard the album yet, but I get so excited, is that it's very much informed by playing these live shows and putting a band together. Because I think there's only one song on the record that has live drums, and it's Beautiful Meltdown. But aside from that, it's all programmed drums and stuff that I just put samples on the grid and manipulated things that way. But at the heart of my love for music is a bunch of bands that have live drums and are playing together in a room, so that's kind of something I've always wanted. And getting to have that experience on stage with my friends playing these songs from the album really made me feel like that needs to be the next step of the music, is to incorporate that live feel. So be on the lookout for some more band sounding songs.
So we're gonna say maybe band merchant. Is that what we're gonna say?
Yes, exactly.
So I guess, is there anything that I haven't covered besides that they should go download your record that you would like to add?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me. Thank you for diving into the record so deeply. I think it's cool to be able to talk about things on a non-surface level and just go into what all the songs are about and stuff. And I hope that people go listen to the record and press play on the first song and sit there for 40 minutes and listen to the whole thing.
Exactly.
That would be my dream.
That's the best way to listen to it.
Yeah.
So Merchant, I'm glad he came back, and I'm thankful that he was willing to be so honest and open about the meanings behind the songs. You know, sometimes lyrics, when you're creative, whether it be lyrics or as a writer, you're putting a piece of your heart and your soul out in the world and being vulnerable. And to be open and honest and talk about why you did it, that's an incredible gift. It has a lot of meaning, and, you know, you never realize who you're going to touch. You know, as I said in the podcast, Take It From You. That was, you know, right now there's a friend that I wish I could take all of her pain away from. She's under incredible anxiety and a lot of stress, and I can't do anything to fix it. And sometimes being hopeless and helpless to help somebody, it gets to you, it breaks you, and all you can do is be there. And I think some of the music, you know, that song, when I listened to it last night, it was something that hit me hard. So for you guys that want to listen to his record, while I think it's important that, you know, listen to your favorite songs, sure, but really stop and look at the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture and listen. You know, do what we used to do and listen to it from beginning to end. Don't put it on shuffle the first time. Just sit there with the music. There's some great dance songs. There's some great music that just pulls at your heart. So give it a listen and download it, definitely. And hopefully, you know, Merchant's going to come back and we'll talk about his new music, and I look forward to hearing his new music. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have a question, comment, or concern, or would like to be a guest on the Better 2 podcast, please send me an email at Donna@better2podcast.com. That's Donna, Dauna, at better2podcast.com. And if you need to catch up on an episode, you can find all our episodes at thebetter2podcast.com. You can also find our social links there as well. Anyway, I thank you for tuning in. As always, the show is brought to you by dmneedom.com and Kitty Mystic. And our sound is done by Rich Zai of Third Ear Audio. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye. The Better 2 podcast is mixed, edited, and produced by Rich Zai of Third Ear Audio Productions.